It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Columbia, this is Houston, AOS, over.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TKW Podcast. I'm Anthony Corbo, and today I'm joined here by my good old friend Kyle Maggio. Kyle.
What's going on, Ant? How's everything?
Everything's good, just like old times, like we were saying before. It's back to our roots. We are wishing Matt a very nice goodbye, and best of luck at SNY. We know he's going to kill it. He's going to be on their social team, and they got a really good group over there already. This only makes it better. So, looking forward to doing a lot more work with Matt in the future. Looking forward to having him on the pod in the future. And cheers to you, bud.
Yep. And I didn't get to say a whole lot on the last pod. I just felt we shouldn't get too bogged down. But I do want to say a couple things for a lot of the listeners who maybe don't get to see, maybe don't follow us on Twitter or don't follow us on Facebook or anything, maybe just people who are exclusive to the pod. Matt was a very important figure for this brand, for the website, for the podcast. And, we wish him the best, but we wouldn't be close to where we are today without his constant efforts. I said it on Twitter, but I just want to cover my bases here. Matt just a hell of a guy, hell of a worker, a guy you want to go to battle with. And I was happy to do the podcast with him as long as we did it. Wishing him the best at SNY. Like Ant said, I know he's going to kill it there, but show Matt some love on Twitter or whatever. I mean, just he deserves it.
He just knows so much. We're gonna cover our bases. We're gonna make sure that we keep the pod interesting and we keep the discussion flowing and everything like that. But Matt's just got a mind for basketball. He sees all these things, so he's a great follow for anyone who, and for everybody.
Especially, even for college ball that we have coming up.
Yeah.
It's always the Knicks still are not a good team, and it's still prospect watch all year for us. And
check out his TKWU series from this past draft class. I'm sure he'll do something more like that again this year. So
exactly. And as you guys know from listening to the pod, I wouldn't say I wasn't knowledgeable of college sports, but I casually watched it and just made sure I watched a couple of prospects I thought the Knicks would end up getting. But Matt is a NCAA know-it-all, and I don't mean that as a slight. He knows his stuff through and through like the back of his hand. He can tell you a list of 20, 30 players he thinks the Knicks should be taking a hard look at. So definitely a valuable person to follow and just keep up with. But just last thing, wish him Matt the best, and don't be too worried. We started this podcast, in 2015, 16, and it was just
our 2-year mark.
Yep, it was just Ant and I, and now we're back with you guys with just way more of you now.
Yeah, and we'll have someone else joining into the pod team as well on a regular basis. We'll be announcing more about that later. But while we are plugging Matt away, do we want to just drop a couple of links in here real quick before we get started?
Sure. So obviously, make sure you follow. You go visit theknickswall.com. It's very important to us. We need the clicks, helps us, and more importantly, you guys get great free daily Knicks content. It's the best original Knicks content you're going to find out there. So make sure you do that. Make sure you give this podcast a 5-star review, and also just leave a nice review. We like reading those.
Yeah, we like hearing from you guys. Follow TKW Podcast on Twitter so that we can engage with you guys a little bit. Follow the Knicks Wall. You can follow myself at Wish I Was Corbo. You can follow Kyle at Kyle Maggio. Check out some TKW merch at TeePublic, and some new things should be dropping there soon. Get your loved ones outfitted for the holidays. All right, anything else?
No, that's about it.
All right, so where do we start here tonight? Do we is it all about the step over?
I don't want to overreact, and maybe it's fitting this is Matt's first podcast away, so he could shy away and cower from what is now the truth as we know it. Mario Hezonja is our new Lord and Savior. Mario Hezonja is greater than Allen Iverson. Mario Hezonja has firmly planted his flag in the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield.
Now, is this a better step over than the Iverson Ty Lue one was, because it's got so much impact especially after what happened in February with the obvious injury and the Hardaway embarrassment and everything like that. This feels really good over Giannis, who also it's a win for the NBA as a whole, because Giannis is out there terrorizing players on a daily basis. This feels good. It was his only points of the night, but it feels good.
Yeah, I mean, and it positively was not better than the Iverson step over. I just want to get that out of the way, because some of you guys never pick up on when we're joking or sarcastic, so I just want to clear that up. But I will say I found it hysterical that Hezonja, and first of all, we're totally forgetting about Giannis got yammed on a minute before by Noah Vonleh to get this game started. The Knicks' first 2 points, he just yammed just directly on Giannis.
Vonleh looked great all game.
Vonleh looked great.
He was able to hold Giannis down like I've not seen many players in the league be able to do.
He was very physical with him, and Giannis still did finish the game with a pretty crazy line. So I'm not going to say
that's going to happen.
Right.
But as long as you can contain him to a degree, honestly, as long as he's not just going off on you and dominating the entire momentum of the game. Giannis looked like a good player out there, but he didn't look like it was his game. He didn't look like Anthony Davis does when he plays us,
Yep. No. And again, there's no shame in it or anything like that. But it's almost like remember the 2015 finals when Iguodala was D'ing up LeBron the entire series, and he won the Finals MVP simply because he made LeBron's life harder. And LeBron was fighting an uphill battle without Kyrie and Kevin Love, but he was still able to get a shot off. He was still able to be a dominant player in that series, but he was contained to a degree. Yeah, he averaged damn near a triple double, and he still got the award. Iguodala did for what he did, and that's sort of what I felt like Vonleh did. Did he really slow him? No, but he made him earn it.
It contributed to the win. The margin was super tight in the win, and without Vonleh at least being able to contain Giannis to a degree and not letting him go off, for a career night again, which happens all the time against these Knicks. That made a huge difference, especially when when the game comes down to a point.
Okay, yeah, and that's very true. And I just find it funny that Hezonja got things started off like that. I think he had the second or third basket of the game for the Knicks. And that was his first 2 points. And wouldn't you know it, that was his only 2 points of the night. And I almost wouldn't have it any other way than Mario Hezonja contributing nothing else except stepping over and then for no reason, dunking on and then for no reason stepping over Giannis just because. He knew he needed a moment. I think I don't know that he knew he was losing the fans, but I think he knew he needed a moment. He hadn't really contributed significantly in a meaningful. I mean, he had the one good game in Milwaukee. I think beginning of the year. I think that was the fourth or fifth game of the season, and then he had a good game in Philly, but it was a blowout, so it's tough to gauge how much impact he really truly had there. But I think he knew he needed a moment, and you could see it. He kind of went out of his way to do the step over, and then he knew the crowd.
No, he did. There was plenty of room for him not to, and he did. And I appreciate the commitment.
We're suckers for this shit. We're suckers for this shit, and I love it. Very shameless about it, and the crowd loved it, and rightfully so. He's pumping the crowd up, waving his hands. I mean, you want to see that kind of stuff, and I doubt it will, but hopefully that's like a little thing he could build off of that to help him get some confidence to get going. I doubt it, but it would be nice.
It will not.
And Matt's yelling in his car right now that it will not. I can hear.
We should mention that the final score of the game was 136 to 134 in overtime. There was plenty of room for him to step over the other way, and we should probably talk about what was actually said after the game as well, with Giannis first coming at him stating, what was the exact quote here? That he would, next time he will do that, he will punch him in the nuts.
Yeah, he said, next time he does that, I'm going to punch him in the nuts. And then everyone thought he was joking, but he just deadpanned everybody, the media in the room. So Hezonja, and I'm going to sort of drag this out for half a second so I can go find the exact quote so I don't butcher it. But it was by Steve Popper, got the quote last night. And Hezonja had a nice answer there. And he said, honestly, this is to Giannis in response. Honestly, if you're afraid, this is not for you. I don't want to be disrespectful, but if you feel fear, then this is not the place for you. New York is not a place for you, and this team is not a place for you.
This is not a place for you. This is not for you. He told Giannis Antetokounmpo that playing in the NBA is not for him.
Likely 2018-19 NBA MVP.
From a player potentially on his last deal.
Yeah, for the likely contending Milwaukee Bucks. He, Hezonja, who scored 2 points and contributed nothing besides those 2 points on a nasty dunk and step over.
Who's on a 1-year contract after flaming out in Orlando only, 4 years after his draft.
That guy decided to tell Giannis that this is not for him. And the last thing that I will say, and I'm not trying to rag on Hezonja, I did think it was a good moment. The last thing I will say on it was, what was I going to say?
I will just put this here. Regardless of if it was his 2 points, regardless of if he contributed anything else, regardless of if he should be in the starting lineup or not, tonight and this weekend at least, until the next game, Mario Hezonja is a hero, and I commend him for it.
Absolutely.
I needed that. Like, listen, I don't blame Giannis for KP getting injured. That's just how things go.
I think that's silly. I know, like, we try to joke around about it, like, yeah, that was for KP. That's revenge for last year.
Right.
Yeah,
right. I don't blame him for it.
Trying to hurt
I don't blame Giannis for KP getting injured. It's a freak injury. Things happen. I don't blame Giannis for jumping over Tim Hardaway Jr. And obliterating in all of his confidence and probably for a long time. Those things happen. I applaud him for having that T-shirt that was made taken down as well immediately after. But regardless of all that just felt good. There was just a little tinge of happiness that came with that. So
what
I'm all
for it. What I was going to say is, Giannis likes to dunk on everybody, rightfully so. He's capable of doing it any point in the day, whether he's in a game or not. But normally when he dunks on somebody, he always stares them down. He always, looks in the crowd and kind of grunts and,
right. He's not a humble player on the court by any means.
No, but I'm saying that's what NBA players do. Guys are cocky. That's how you do it. You one up everybody. You know you're going to get got sometimes, and you hopefully get yours more than you get got. To quote the great.
See, that's the thing with Giannis, though. I don't think he thinks he's ever going to get got. I don't think he ever expects to get got.
He got got twice.
He got got.
And may I point out that after all that staring down he does after his own dunks and all the big talks after the game, and again, I do not hate Giannis by any means. I actually love him pretty dearly, but you don't get to then not make eye contact with Hezonja as he's staring over you. You don't retaliate. You don't do anything during the game. And then after the game, you get all pissy about it and go, oh, I'm going to punch him in the nuts. Listen, man, you're going to prove it on the court, but go prove it on the court. We don't need to hear this stuff when you do this nightly. Just go prove it on the court. Next time you guys play, I think it's on Christmas Day, go handle it then. We don't need. If it was such a problem, you would have handled it on the court. Period. That's it. It's Mario Hezonja.
No, I agree. Exactly.
You could have handled it on the court. But that guy's fearless. So
we do have a lot more that we should get to in this game as well. I guess we should probably go into the guy who took over for most of the end of the game was Emmanuel Mudiay. Finished the game with 28 points, 7 assists, 3 rebounds. Played 36 minutes and really seemed to come alive in that fourth quarter there. Had a couple of huge three-pointers that brought the Knicks right back into the game. Obviously, Mudiay is a huge topic of debate amongst fans. Inconsistency is going to be there with him regardless, no matter what. But have you seen real improvements in this game this year, things that can carry over game to game at least? He's not going off for 28 a game, regardless of if it's overtime or not. But there's got to be some things now that he's been able to show on a consistent basis. I think, just to start us off, I think getting to the rim has been his biggest ally lately.
Yeah, what I'm going to say is, and I'm not trying to throw a wet blanket on this by any means, for the sake of doing it. The 3-point shooting that he's doing, is just gonna fall off a cliff at some point. He's hitting a lot,
absolutely,
and by a lot, I mean a lot of. For the context of this kind of shot, he's hitting a lot of like very unbalanced shots, very off-balance shots, and he's moving or falling forward as he's shooting or fading away, and he's doing that
he's
from
kicking his legs out
range.
like he's trying to draw fouls and they're going in, which is a sign.
And while I love the result, I wouldn't say trash Mudiay, but we felt like we knew who he was as a player. We thought this was going to be Burke and Frank all year duking it out. And we didn't really even give Mudiay a lot of thought. And I'm not going to sit here and bash us either, rightfully so, because Mudiay, after getting traded here, played his way out of the rotation swiftly last year. So everything that we had seen from him in Denver and in New York last year, he just wasn't it. He just wasn't a good player. This year, I don't know what it is specifically, but he seems to just be like, and this is aside from the unsustainable three-point shooting, but he seems to be more patient in getting to the rim.
I mean, regardless,
instead of going. Oh, go ahead.
No, I agree with you. He does look a lot more patient, but I think part of that comes from his. I think he just feels more encouraged out there. He's shooting the best field goal percentage of his entire career this year so far. He's shooting nearly 50%. He's 47.4, and his three-point percentage is also a career high at 35.4 as well. So, regardless of if those shots start to go a little bit off the track or not, like, he actually did. He had half season in Denver was a better 3-point percentage than he's shooting now, but as a whole for the year, it wasn't as good. But regardless, he's going to come down a little bit for sure, but I think he's got that confidence that's really allowing him to see the court efficiently and know when he's got the lane to the rim. He just looks like he's putting up better shots around there, too. Like, he's not just throwing the ball up at the rim. Like, he's actually sees how to get around players and be able to move the ball underneath the rim to get a clean shot up.
Yeah, and it really is funny because I was going through our own Ty Jordan's piece before on kind of, is this the real Emmanuel Mudiay that we're actually seeing here? And while I still don't believe that's true, Ty kind of pointed out that, he's supposed to be. Remember, Fizdale says he's the best passer on the team. He was supposed to be in here because he's the best passer on the team to whip the ball around, get it moving. And while he does push the pace a lot more than Burke and Frank do and are capable of at this moment, I've noticed that his assist numbers are actually down from his last couple of years. He's just scoring more. And he did have 28 and 7 last night, so I'm not going to sit here and say he doesn't move the ball. But it seems like a lot of what his passing is now is like secondary. Like he's just swinging it to the wing to get the action started versus trying to make the play for the assist. So he still is moving the ball around the way Fizdale intended, but there's no, assist numbers to really back that up. But basically what Ty pointed out, and this was a couple days ago, he said Mudiay is operating at the fastest pace of his career. So that's big because, that's a part of Fizdale's system. So I'm sure.
And that also ties into with, that's the pace numbers are also really encouraging because he's staying efficient while he's doing it. Right. And while it's only, been 17 games that he's played so far this year, he still looked to be able to continue that stretch. Like with pretty much every game he's been in, we've seen that regardless of if he's able to score or not, or really make a big impact in the minutes he's given, that ball is still pretty much flying around more than any other guard when he's out there. Right.
And the pace thing's really important because he's averaging 4.9 points in the paint right now per game, and that's the most since his rookie season. And as Ty notes here, even more telling is that he's averaging around 6 fewer field goal attempts per game than he did that season while shooting a career high, almost 50% from the field. So, and again, this was a few days ago, so the percentages are going to be a bit off, but that's exactly what you would want. The one big thing we were worried about when he came here was that his tendency to kind of shy away from contact and fall down when he was going at the rim. While that still does happen on occasion, it just seems as though he's getting to his spots a little bit quicker or a little bit more easily, and he doesn't either A, need to fall down, or B, we've seen him make some really tough and ones over the course of the last 2 weeks, and it just seems like he's playing with a little bit more confidence.
He's got
with
a
little bit
crazy
more
arc on his shot at the rim.
He does.
Like the way he hits like the top of the backboard when he's trying to bank it in on a layup.
Yeah. It's an absolute rainbow that goes up. But I'm encouraged. I I don't know that I'm buying it. I buy this. I buy that he should be the starter pretty easily right now. I think that's very fair to say. And again, we spent all summer arguing with people about Burke or Frank, and nobody really made a case for Mudiay. And just hats off to him. He's playing his ass off, and he's doing a hell of a job. And I do want to say, too, defensively, he's not suddenly a defensive stalwart by any means, but sort of similar to a Tim Hardaway Jr. for a while. He was trying a little bit more. When you look at Mudiay, you could see he's actually active and engaged, and he's trying to get over screens a little bit, or he's trying to catch up to his man when they run base. Like, he's trying to do these things a little bit better. I don't know if he's in better shape this season. I don't know if he just the switch maybe finally went off. I don't know, but everything we're seeing from this guy, even on the off nights, it looks like he's just really trying to bust his ass out there. And again, hats off to him. It is really fun to watch, and I really do not mind being wrong. Call us what you want to call us; it's fine. This is a very enjoyable experience, despite that the wins and losses aren't.
And we'll see what happens. We'll see. We wanted to cut bait on him last year and stuff. He's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. Let's see what happens now. We have a lot of players on 1-year deals who we have to see about who's going to stick with us moving forward. But it's kind of a good problem to have right now. Let's just hope that we get a true view of what he is throughout the rest of the season. We have one more before we get into while we're on the point guard path. We should just talk about Frank Ntilikina not playing a minute in last night's game. And this is something that's getting me really fired up. It's just like, I understand the need not to damage his confidence. I understand the need to keep him on the team. I understand the need to, see how he can improve up again in the NBA again in practice against real talent, But if you're not going to play him a minute of game time, I'm sorry, the G League is there for a reason. I was going off about this on the last pod we did, and I only feel incredibly more strongly after not seeing him play a minute last night. And I know Fizdale has been really wonky with his minutes. I know he's prone to, start a player and then give him a DNP the next game even. But this is getting to a point. This is a lottery pick. The guy's only been in the league for 1 year. He's an elite defensive player who's still working on putting his offensive game together. Put him somewhere where he's going to be able to get some burn with low effect, low impact. Just he's just got to work his way out of this thing, and continually over magic him night after night is not going to do it. Where do you stand on Frank right now?
I have a couple of Frank takes, and the first one brings me no joy in saying, and the second one is a little bit more reassuring to calm you down. So start with the good. Start with the bad part here. Get it out of the way. I love Frank. You know this. I've wanted Frank to start. You know this again. As much as we want those things for Frank, as much as we want the development of Frank, we want Fizdale to just keep putting him out there and helping him learn and grow as a player. When given the opportunities, you have to start taking advantage more often than not. And that's sort of where we're at now with Frank, is that more often than not, he's not producing on the offensive end.
Can I just push on that for a second, or do you want to continue with your point? Continue.
You can push on it.
Continue.
Okay.
Finish up.
Okay. So while I love Frank, and while there have certainly been flashes, the first month of the season, I would have argued against what I just said. But there's since been another month, and he just hasn't done a whole lot. Now, I get that he's moved back to the bench, and I get that Fizdale's been tinkering with the lineups, which is what I want to touch on for my second point. But you got to produce if you want to be out there. And he hasn't given it to us on offense after that first month. We saw the flashes against the Nets and against Golden State, which is the game everybody's going to reference. And outside of those games, he had other good games where he put up 9 or 10 points. And while, some of you guys might scoff at the 9 or 10 point thing, for him to just simply double his point per game outage would have been huge. He's reverted since to the exact average that he was at last year, but for him to go from 5 points to 10 points a game in a year is actually really a big stride. So the first month of the year, that's what it seemed like we might be getting. And he's since fallen off a cliff with that. And a lot of it's just not hitting really wide open shots more often than not.
So my question on all that is like, I just see with him, he just looks clearly overmatched and has no confidence right now. I think he feels like he's overmatched out there, regardless of if he's really able to contribute or not. Like, if he's after a while just forcing the issue of him having to improve isn't going to do anything. Like, I just feel like there are logical steps here we can do to try to force his improvement and, you know, let him kind of develop a timeline for himself. People like constantly forget that he's 20 years old. I brought up the point that if the Knicks would have just like stashed him for 2 years in Europe, he would come over next year and then he'd be a 21-year-old rookie who would probably be a little bit more polished. And, you know, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Even if he struggled for another year, we still wouldn't be having this conversation. So I don't really understand what the point is to be trying to force improvement on him if it's not going to happen when he's 20 years old on the big stage. There are avenues to take that can help him improve at a more consistent pace on a slower timeline that would take him out of the spotlight at least.
Yeah, and look, I mostly agree with that. It's just somehow, some way, you got to find a way to make an impact. I mean, that's what it comes down to for me. And this kind of segues into my next thing, which is we've seen one good month, one bad month from him, for the most part, right? The first month we saw kind of what we wanted to see. The second month we really haven't. He's fallen off a cliff, and so have his minutes. My second point is I'm not really concerned about it the way a lot of fans are. The only thing that concerns me are those reports about teams being interested in him. That concerns me.
That is absolutely like that's a real concern because all these other teams see that he can be a realistically impactful player, and they'll probably do something with the G League with him as well. They'll figure out a development schedule that will make sense. Right now, we have a coach who's really trying to force the issue that he's got to. You know, it's just going to be effort, when maybe there are other approaches we can take to getting Frank onto a productive timeline. Yeah.
And, that's, if you would have just told me that, Frank got benched for an entire game, a DNP, and there's no inkling of the trade rumors, I wouldn't have really batted an eye, to be honest with you, only because for the, Fizdale was really big about, hey, I'm going to do a lot of crazy experimenting. And we've seen guys who have clearly earned it and produced, like Damian Dotson, who we've covered at length on this podcast, who every game he got in, it seemed like he was putting up 12 or 15 points, 3 or 4 rebounds, a couple of steals. And we saw that guy go right from that. He had like 1 or 2 meh kind of games, and then he got relegated to the bench, right? But we didn't attribute that to, Coach Fizdale thinks Dame Dotson stinks. We just attributed that to, hey, he said for the first 25 or so games, he's going to tinker with the lineups. And as we saw with the preseason, when like guys like Mudiay got starts for no reason, it just seems like he's giving guys different chances to do, get looks at different positions, different points in the games. It looks like he's given Hezonja a chance to get going starting, which hasn't worked. But, I don't really put a lot of stock into Fizdale benching him just to bench him.
Right. I agree with that as well. Like, if a DNP would not be a big deal for me. The difference with like Dotson is the sensitivity that comes with Frank being a lottery pick and being the ire of a lot of fans, and already being a labeled a bust at this point in his career. Like the sensitivity that goes into that is like kind of the underlying issue with all of this, and then especially with the trade rumors going on at the same time, like it really compounds the issue. And I don't understand if we're trying to boost Frank Ntilikina's confidence back up. I don't understand how. Benching him amid trade rumors is going to help that. But but I do get a 1 game DNP. If you're trying to send a message to him, now's your time to shine. You got to make it happen. All right, fine. But so what happens if this continues? What happens if this goes 2 games or 4 games or onward from there?
I guess it depends when that happens, right? So I just want to check the total games real quick, but we're at the 25 game mark or damn near 24 games in. The Knicks sit at 8-16. So tomorrow's going to be game 25. I'm interested to see if first of all, the lineup changes for tomorrow, being that it's the game 25, or if he means 25 full games, and then I'm going to start looking at a set rotation. And he's alluded to this before. Like Fizdale said this last month about guys getting no minutes or not enough minutes. He's like, look, I'm going to toy with these things until about 25 or so games. So he's kind of, and he's reiterated that publicly a few times. So he's kind of giving himself that cutoff. But if it happens in the beginning, I guess I'd be worried because to me, that let's say he changes the lineup on tomorrow night or tonight rather for those listening. If Frank doesn't play, most of this next week and most of the week after, then I would start to say, you know what, I think there's some credence to the trade rumors. I think there might actually be something here. How could they have
credence or credence?
Which is the one that I was supposed to be saying?
Credence.
Thank you. So, if it's like that, I think I'd be worried. If it's a couple of months from now and he's been, let's say, the seventh man off the bench, he's getting 20, 25 good minutes off the bench, he's playing a lot, playing some different positions, and then like 50, 60 games in, he just starts to lose a little bit of minutes. Then to me, I wouldn't be as worried because at least I feel like I know the answer. Maybe he isn't producing, but just if it happens too soon, I wouldn't really.
Yeah.
I would be really fearful if it happens in the next couple of weeks. To me, that would mean the writing's on the wall.
I'm hoping this isn't the effect of, I'm hoping this isn't him shortening his rotation after 25 games. I don't, even though Frank has not seen any improvement so far, like, I think he should still be in the rotation in one way or another. And I mean, if it's the other way, if it is him shortening his rotation, if this is David Fizdale saying like I'm going to be rolling with these guys moving forward, and then I'll have my end of bench guys who are going to come in garbage time, or whether that's good or bad. If that is the case, then it only reinforces a G League point with Frank, man. It's just like he doesn't want to do it. But if you're just not going to play him at all, if he's not in the rotation at all at this point, like then what's the point? What are you doing? How are you developing this lottery pick? I mean, Fizdale is supposed to be the great developmental coach that we need. Like, if one of our first-round picks, even if it's from before when he was around or before when the other management members were around, if one of our lottery picks is just sitting on the bench and not developing in one way or another in his second year when he's 20 years old and is already a gifted defender, then there's a problem with management here. This is not being handled correctly.
Yeah, I think that's what worries me. And people are gonna. There's some out there who are, 1 second.
And I think that, like, just, this isn't me alluding to me, like, losing confidence in Fizdale. I still do believe in his abilities as a coach. I still do enjoy him as a coach and how he's able to really connect with his players. And, especially when it comes to, like, Kevin Knox, especially when it's been Trier, when it's been, Vonleh, Dotson, Robinson, all these guys. They seem to have made strides under Fizdale's guidance, but that doesn't mean that we can just leave out one of the core members of the organization moving forward, or at least he should be. And just because he's not ready doesn't mean that he's a bust. Like, we have so much longer before this ship is set to sail. Frank could take his time getting developing, becoming the player he's going to be. There's no reason that he has to have it done 25 games into his second season. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I do believe in Fizdale, but there's some people out there who, no matter what happens with the rotations or decisions that Fizdale makes, it's always, well, don't worry, Fizdale's got this. And as much as I loved Fizdale before we hired him, I was really big during our podcast during the coaching search about Fizdale was my guy that I wanted, and we got him. And I actually really firmly believe in a lot of what he's doing with the tinkering and everything, seeing what he's got. He knows it's the lost season. We always say that in the lost seasons, just experiment, see what you got, figure some stuff out. And he's doing it without a care in the world. So I think that's great. And it's important. But what worries me is, and again, I'm not going to go nuts on the Frank thing yet, but if he were to not play Frank consistently, then that would be troubling to me, not really just for Frank, but I would start to worry about future prospects that are very raw. There's a lot of, and I think Zion I'm going to bring up, and he's a totally different beast. I think he'd have far more impact in the NBA if he joined the league right now than Frank would in terms of offensive production probably. But, I would worry a little bit, even if it's not justified, that, well, what are they going to do if they draft other players that have, really raw talent like Frank does and need to be molded and needed to be guided. But, they're smart. They have good instincts. They have good IQ, but they need some help, and that concerns me. That even if it shouldn't, that concerns me. It'll sit in the back of my mind, because then we have guys like Mitchell Robinson, who is a significant contributor on defense, and pretty much just the offensive glasses. For some reason, he can't secure defensive rebounds all that well, and he doesn't give you a ton on offense outside of when he's rim rolling effectively. But
it's a little different, just to harken back onto your point about, about developing raw players and everything, and then we could touch on Robinson a little bit more from there. But it's a little different when it's your guy that you draft, right? Like, the thing is with Frank, like, they're not really too afraid to bury him, deep on the bench, because, for all that it's worth, he's still a Phil Jackson pick. Like, he's still left over from the last regime. The only one who really has any stake on Frank Ntilikina even being on this team right now is Steve Mills. So, I don't know how big of a difference it makes, but I just feel like if Fizdale were to be in the room when they draft Zion Williamson, and and Perry makes that pick and Mills is there for that pick and everything, like this, I just feel like the stakes are going to be higher for them to try to improve it. Whereas with Frank, he's leftovers basically. If they get something out of him, good, but they're not pushing quite as hard. And I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, no, it is certainly different, and I do think that developing a big is generally pretty, not easy, but easier than it would be for a guard. There's a lot that you got to work on to be a perimeter player, to be effective and stay effective. And I just think I don't want to get too hung up on it. I saw a lot of Knicks fans panic. I'm not there yet. We'll see how this next week goes. We're at game 25 tomorrow, but I'm not there yet with the full-on panic. I do think starting tomorrow night and beyond is when now we got to get serious about the critiquing with Fizdale and how he's handling the players. We've been pretty laid back about it as a whole, not just us in this podcast.
We've been open to his approach, which we still are. But yeah, it's now time to kind of clamp down a bit.
We still are. I've seen people, and somebody who's going to be joining us on this pod pretty soon has a lot of thoughts on this, but some people really lay into Fizdale and his decisions. And while I generally think the points are valid, I just think it's, we got to remember the context is he's intentionally doing things that might not make sense to try guys out. Like there's nobody, whether it's advanced statistics and analytics or whether it's the eye test, old-fashioned scouts and new age scouts alike, there's nobody who could watch the footage of Damian Dotson starting at the 3 and Mario Hezonja starting at the 3 and think Hezonja deserves to be starting over Dotson. There's just not. It would defy all logic that has to do with the game of basketball. So I don't think that he's doing these things to be, I don't think he's like unintentionally being dumb. I think that this is on purpose just to try things out.
Yeah, Fizz is kind of a hard ass too. Like that, he's playing the hard ass teacher role with these guys right now. Like he's really sticking to, and he said it before, and we should expect it. But he's really sticking to what he said about, if you're playing well, you're going to get minutes, and if you're not, you're going to get benched. And I really can't put up too much of an argument against that approach. There are just things from a real, like, that's a good coaching mindset. I like seeing that in my coach. From a realistic team building, long-term viewpoint, I don't necessarily agree with every decision he makes, but kind of day to day, I'm still pretty firmly in Fizdale's camp.
Me too. And I've been very cautiously optimistic about him and Perry in general as a whole. I do think that, and I've said this on Twitter a few times too, and I just want to get it out of the way in the podcast. I'm not blindly optimistic about this stuff. More has to be done before I pledge allegiance to those guys like that. But it is always encouraging. That's all we can go by. It's encouraging that, guys are getting a lot of chances, even if it's not the guys that we like, and guys are maybe developing like a Mudiay, even if it's not the guys that we want to develop. There are encouraging moves that have been made by Perry, smart little savvy things, like even, nailing this last draft class, it looks like. So I'm encouraged by how things have gone since Perry's taken over. I'm still encouraged, despite, being a little bit worried about maybe Frank's future, but more has to be done. More has to be done. I don't think just because they maybe hit on a couple of draft picks, and it is too soon to tell, though Alonzo Trier looks like the greatest player that's ever played, and Mitchell Robinson looks terrific defensively if he can stay in the game and stop fouling. And it looks like Knox, who we can touch on next, is maybe righting the ship here. But more has to be done. This is a big summer coming up, and whether or not they even get the big free agent doesn't matter. A lot of those auxiliary moves are going to tell us a lot about what this front office is capable of and what they want to do. So there's a lot here that we need to do before we start calling this a success or start going, don't worry, guys, they've got it, because we've been there before with front offices. And I'm not trying to sound like I have PTSD with this stuff, but, while it's encouraging, they haven't really proven anything yet. So
yeah, I agree. I've kind of bought in. I've bought into the vision because there hasn't really been any moves that have steered me off the course of what Mills and Perry have decided to do so far and how they've wanted to run the franchise. I've been pretty much on board so far. This Frank situation over the last week and the Ntilikina trade rumors and everything, this is really the first time that I've started to kind of question how strongly I'm buying into their vision, or how true they seem to be to their vision, I should say. But we're gonna have to see how this pans out. This could either reinforce my belief in them or just totally shatter it. So time will tell.
I said a couple of pods ago too. The last thing I want to say on Frank is
then we'll talk about Knox.
Well, I do believe he has the requisite skills to be a point guard, like ingrained in him in terms of his IQ and his ability to get it done. He hasn't been willing to really follow through on that, but we've seen enough flashes for me to at least believe in that. At some point, he could be an effective guard offensively as well as defensively. I truly don't care what they end up doing with Frank as long as he turns into an effective player and starter.
I see a very different kind of foundation, or I see a very different kind of effectiveness and body type than like Tony Allen or Marcus Smart, but I do see a lot of comps in there that I like between them. But even if it makes him like a unique player, I think that's part of the thing that's getting lost here is that Frank is kind of a unique specimen. We haven't seen a lot of players like him. We haven't seen guys like him who are, very, very confident perimeter defenders who can also follow a guy all the way to the rim and act as a rim protector at times. Like he's got that part of his game down, and fans just don't appreciate defense as much. We understand that, but it has real existent value to it. And, eventually he's going to learn how to hit corner threes. Eventually he's going to learn how to pull up confidently without waiting and aiming a shot and everything. Eventually he's going to figure out how to get to the rim. These aren't like incredibly difficult skills that he has to learn here. It's just about him being able to figure out how he fits into the NBA, how his body can exist on the floor. Like, he's going to get there. But again, even if you give him 2 more years from now, he's 22 years old. You give him 3, he's 23 years old. He's got so much time to figure this out, and yet we're still trying to rush him, after barely, not even 100 games into his career. Barely that, if maybe.
Exactly.
Let's talk about Kevin Knox.
Please.
Kevin Knox, our 2019 draft pick, first round pick, or 2018, I'm sorry. I'm already in the future. He had a tremendous game. He had a career game. First time, we've really seen an offensive dominant game from Kevin Knox, and it felt really, really good to see, especially when a lot of the Knox bust kind of rumors started going around, or just kind of takes started going around, and it was really hard to see. And but he managed to finish the game really well. He ended up scoring 26 points? Yeah, 26 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He had a block, he had a steal. Just 37 minutes, looked pretty good in all of those minutes out there. He looked pretty effective. Knocked down his threes. He was able to drive. He was, able to hit some free throws. It was a really good all-around game from him. A game that you could see him turning into a nightly performance. I'm once again really, really encouraged in what I've seen out of Kevin Knox. What are you taking away from that?
So there's been some talk. We had a funny tweet last night where we made fun of the Berman article, and it wasn't like making fun of Berman. It was making fun of like his sources saying the scouts saying that Kevin Knox and Frank are soft, and we posted that headline with a picture of Kevin Knox's stat line from last night, which was 26-4-4. And it was one game, and everybody let us know it was one game, and we know it was one game. But I also don't want to sit here and pretend that, Kevin has been a woefully unproductive guy either. I mean, it hasn't been exactly what we wanted to start, especially after how well we saw him play in the summer league. And but to me,
can we also say that it may have only been one game, but it was, and even if it was his 15th game, not of the season, of his career, which is like,
well, here's what.
Continue.
Here's what I wanted to point out, right? So in his very first game, he put up 10 points, and I'm just going to stick with the points. I'm not going to read the whole line. He's had some nice rebounding games as well, but so 10 points was his first game. 17 points was his second game. Then he got injured against Boston, right? So that game he played, barely any time, 4 minutes in it, and he got hurt. He had only had a point in that game. Then he came back. He missed, I think it was 7 games. He came back, working his way back. He scored 2 points, then 0, which is fair. Because that ankle injury looked really, really bad. It ended up not being that bad, but it looked really bad.
He turned it all the way over.
All the way over.
Yeah,
I'm surprised it didn't snap. And,
it could have been a lot worse with just a little bit more impact. But
yep. It's okay. So he comes back, now 2 points and 0. Remember, he played 4 minutes in the other game and got the game where he injured himself and scored 1 point. So you have to, those are going to weigh on your averages heavily, right? But then after that, 12 points, 17 points, 15 points, 11 points, then 4 and 2. And those are the games where, he started to lose minutes a little bit, but okay, whatever. No big deal.
And to add to that too, like, if you're looking at Kevin Knox's averages at this point in his career or the season, like you're looking for a problem. You're trying to manufacture something here.
My thing is, then he hit that little rough patch after the 4 and 2. He scored 11. I think that was the Boston game. He scored 11, had 9 rebounds, and then after that he started to struggle again. And he had 5 points, 0 points, 4 points, 9 points, and really low minutes. So then he had the outburst last night with 26-4-4, a steal and a block. The thing here is, about half the games he's played, he scored in double digits. In games especially where he actually gets the minutes, where he gets 20 or more minutes, he scores in double digits more often than he doesn't, almost all the time. And while it hasn't been as efficient as we want, he's also a rookie. He's 19 years old, and he's going to, not everybody's a Jason Tatum who comes in and can right away be pretty efficient. Some guys need a little bit more work. We know it's a lost year, so I don't want to get hung up on efficiency, but I just want to track the growth. What I'm seeing is, like, he's still capable of scoring at the NBA level. He's still capable of putting up these double-digit type of games without being able to go, finish at the rim with his left hand. He's still trying to find his 3-point stroke and step out from that range and hit those. But he's, to me, shown that he's capable of it, and that's what matters, right? I mean, we want to see the guys are capable of scoring, even if it's inefficient, going out there and being able to score. And to me, I see that from Knox. And this is all with him running around half the time like he's a baby deer, like he's still trying to get his legs underneath him. Sometimes he's out of control. But, for me, that he's still getting results, and it's not always pretty, and it's not always what we want. And I'm not going to sit here and gush over him and say he's been tremendous by any means, but I think the overreaction to either his averages or some of the bad games that he had are kind of over the top too, because we're ignoring a lot of games where they had faith in him and let him gun and shoot through his struggles to finish with a respectable box score and point totals. And I mean, all we really want from him is that level of aggressiveness. Even if it's going to be inefficient some nights, just stay aggressive. We hope that he's going to be a big piece next to KP, right? We don't know what Frank's future holds here, but we know pretty much that, Knox and whoever the lottery pick is this upcoming year should factor into being a big part of this team. And that's all that I want to see is how are they going to use him and how are they going to let him grow? And I've seen them mix it up for Knox and run action for him, dribble handoffs or high screens, try to get him rolling. They've really worked him around, and to me, it seems like they're trying to work with him. I just don't see the concern, is my point. That's what it comes down to. And last night, obviously, is when we could talk our shit. But I really am truly not worried.
He's got to, not only he's got to literally get comfortable again. It's like everything you were just saying. He's going to have those bad games in between there because he's literally playing on this bum ankle that he probably came back a little bit too fast from, and he's got to literally figure out he's got to maintain himself out there all over again. He got his NBA career started and then came to a screeching halt, and now he's got to figure it all out again, and he's getting there. And last night was a big showing of that. And you just hope as the year goes on, he can stay injury free. He can just continue building off this. With bumps in the road and everything, but he'll continue to grow.
Yeah, so I'm encouraged. Hopefully, what I hope now is that he builds off this, because we saw him be very aggressive. He was even making some passes, which we haven't seen him do a whole lot of. And they weren't just like BS assists. A lot of them were nice finds, to be honest with you. I'm fresh off watching this game, and he was very aggressive. And it wasn't just going to the rack or attacking the boards. And I'm not going to sit here and say 4 rebounds is by any means a great rebounding night, but he just seemed like he was trying to get into the action whenever he could, whatever the action was. We saw him dive on the ground for a loose ball in the first half and really mix it up. And he just seemed like he was leaving it all out there. And that's the kind of energy that we want to see from him, especially with the vicious New York media, how it can be. And, some people were questioning his motor and how hard he wanted to work. And it's nice that right after those reports, he comes right out and goes, you know what, man, I've had enough, and drops this on everybody. When he got those looks from 3, he wasn't hesitating. Some of them he was wide open. Some of them there was a defender pretty close to him or contesting, and he just confidently took it in stride and shot. So I just like what I saw. I hope he builds off of it, but I guess I really just hope this kind of cements his spot in the starting lineup. I just think now you got to start focusing on his development more. Results be damned. I just think you got to make sure he's in there. I think, you got to lay him in at the 4 and just let him go to work.
Yeah, you just put him wherever it makes sense. Listen, Hezonja is going to be due for a replacement from the starting lineup soon. I think we can pretty confidently pencil Knox in where Hezonja's spot is within the next couple of weeks. I'm willing to make that wager that I think Knox will start starting and Hezonja will be relegated to some DNPs moving forward. I don't know if it comes next game. I think it might be a nice, Fizdale confidence showing to start Knox next game at the 3. That could also have catastrophic results, so we'll have to see what happens. But I'm very encouraged with what I saw in Kevin Knox, against the other day. I'm already forgetting who we were playing. Who were we playing? Oh yeah, the Milwaukee Bucks. Good showing against the Bucks. Love Kevin Knox moving forward. I'm hoping to see more things from him. Kyle, do you have anything else that you wanted to touch on from last night's game or anything else?
I guess the last thing I want to do real quick is just in case we get a crazy lineup change for Game 25, I just want you to shoot your best starting lineup, your best guess of what the new starting lineup is going to be going forward. The one that Fizdale says is what he wants to start using. What do you think that's going to look like if it were to be announced tomorrow?
I think it's pretty confidently Mudiay and Hardaway in the backcourt.
I agree.
I'm going to say Cantor remains the starter, regardless of what we think Robinson should be doing. I think he's earned that spot. I think Vonleh stays at the 4. I think he's very much earned that as well. And I think you put Knox at the 3. I think that's just his way of showing confidence in him moving forward. And I don't think Hezonja has done really much to earn that, other than dunking over Giannis and walking over him. I have a feeling that Knox might start at the 3, and we'll see how he flows like that. And if he continues to struggle, then you pull him out, and then Johnson goes in at the 3. So I don't know, where do you stand?
I think I agree, but my heart says they're going to put Knox at the 3 because they need to develop him, and they need to start showing that, get that lottery pick on the court, get him those big minutes, and get him working. But my gut tells me that Dotson's going to start at the 3. I agree with the rest of the lineup. I just think the 3 is going to be the big question, or, if by surprise Vonleh takes a seat and they let Knox trot out at the 4, but I just don't think you could justify it. I honestly think Dotson's kind of won it over. He's been just pretty damn good defensively. Every time he goes out there, I've said this like several times, but it just seems like he gives you the same exact game. He gets you 3 or 4 rebounds, 12 to 15 points, maybe a steal and some good defense. It just feels like he always has that same game when he's out there, hits a couple of open threes. And I just don't know if somebody who is still pretty young, he's in his second year, he's not, a rookie, but he didn't play a lot last year. And I just think if he's that young and he's producing that well, that consistently on both sides of the ball, how could you sit him, even if Knox is the lottery pick and another young talent you want to develop? So I'm going to just, for the sake of you having Knox, I'm honestly going to say that Dotson probably gets the nod.
That's fair.
I think it's Mudiay, Hardaway, Dotson. I'll probably leave Vonleh, and then Cantor I don't think is going anywhere until Mitch at least proves he can stay on the, breathe on a court without it being a foul. So
let me ask you one other thing real quick.
Okay.
Regardless of if Dotson makes it in the lineup or not, when it comes to the bench, where do you see Courtney Lee right now? Because he was eligible last night and he didn't play a minute.
That's a great question. I feel as though Hezonja is going to take a seat. I just feel like we're going to see some sort of platoon at the 3 and 4. Like it's going to be like a real jumbled mess. Like in terms of staggering, like the 2 will probably be some semblance of Timmy, and then backing him up, Dotson can slide over when Timmy sits to stagger him, and maybe
Trier,
Courtney Lee comes in, and Trier, and I don't really know how they're going to work him in. I think he'll probably take probably 10 to 15 minutes or so to kind of get his feet wet again, and I just feel like we're going to see him slide back and forth at the 2 and the 3, because I think we've all kind of known that the writing's been on the wall for Lee, that he's probably going to be shipped out, even if it's not for a sufficient return. So I just think they got to get him out there and let teams see that he's healthy. They know what he's going to produce anyway. They just got to see that he's healthy. But I don't think he's going to play like a significant role either. Just the way that they've been with all the vets. Taking again, the much maligned Enes Kanter for his defense. He still puts up damn good offensive numbers, and even he had to take a backseat, So I don't see Courtney Lee coming in and suddenly getting 25 minutes a night. I just think it's going to be like
That's
10 minute a game kind of situation.
I don't see him playing more than 15 minutes, honestly. Yeah, like even on a good game, I could see him playing max 20 minutes. But I think the Enes Kanter comp is a really good comparison, because he you're absolutely right. Cantor's earned his role on the team. He's earned his spot. He's putting up these offensive minutes and everything. These offensive numbers that are just pretty staggering some nights. I mean, he's got, even his rebounding prowess has been huge this season. But even he's been asked to take a seat at points. But he's at least guaranteed minutes, especially with the kind of dearth of centers that the Knicks have. There is a surplus of wings and guards on this roster. So Courtney Lee, I could see some DNPs in his future moving forward. I think he and Frank will be vying for a lot of the same minutes now. I think that'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. Dotson being in there is very interesting. Whether or not he gets the start will impact how many minutes I think Lee gets. But yeah, we're going to be seeing some minutes out of Lee in some capacity, because they got to try to move him. It's what the capacity will look like is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's going to be, regardless, it's going to be a wild week anyway, because we knew this was, as we said before, this was the cutoff for when he wants to start setting his rotations. And I'm sure it doesn't help him any that Courtney Lee is suddenly healthy and ready to go now as he has to make his decisions. But it just feels like he's going to probably tighten it up. I feel like Hezonja's going to fall by the wayside, and he'll probably try to get Courtney some minutes when he can. But that's about it. It's going to be Wednesday's pod, man, might be one hell of an episode with potential changes that happen before then.
Yeah. All right. Well, then let's save that energy for them. Any closing notes for tonight?
No. I just want to say that we appreciate all the listeners and followers that we have on everything. And if you don't have us on, even I forgot this in the plugs earlier, but if you don't have us added on Facebook, make sure you do so.
Instagram too.
Instagram as well. Make sure you find us there. It's always the Knicks Wall, easy to find.
Yep. Knicks Wall on Instagram.
yeah, I mean, we love hearing from you guys. We love hearing from you guys during the games. We love tweeting during the games with you guys. And again, if you're an exclusive listener to just the podcast, make sure you give us a follow on Twitter too. I feel like we don't talk about that enough.
Got a lot of things going on.
A lot of things going on, but we're always there to give you good analysis. We're always there to give you some jokes, lighten things up. It could be tough talking about the Knicks a lot, so we're always here to have a good time. And during the games, that's what we try to do.
Yeah.
Join us for all the games.
The brand is there for you.
Right. And we're always there every night. Every night there's a game, we're tweeting the clips out, talking, conversing with all you guys. So just always join us. And if you follow along with us and don't reply or comment, feel free to do so. I tweet a bunch of the games, and Stone and our social team tweets a lot of the games, and we just a common theme is that we love talking with you guys and hearing from you guys. So make sure you just continue to do that for those of you who are, and if you haven't, welcome aboard and join us. We look forward to hearing from you.
Yep. Shout outs to all of you. Shout outs to Matt Spendley. Shout outs to Kyle here. Shout out to myself. And we will talk to you all on Wednesday. Till then.